Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, say goodbye to the Switch Heavy. Hello, Switch Lite. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including the newly revealed Nintendo Switch Lite. And then on Thursday, we are going to be definitively deciding all of the Splatoon 2 Splatfests. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Patrick, I need your help with something.
Okay.
So as these weeks progress, let me start from the beginning. I'm really excited.
Okay,
so
good.
I got a little ahead of myself here.
Mhm.
So I bought a new hand lotion.
Okay, good.
So I
So
don't
far.
know if it's risky because I bought one that's specifically formulated for people over the age of 50. Because here's my thinking. My thinking is I'm not over the age of 50.
Right.
But if it's good for people over the age of 50, surely my body now could use those nutrients or whatever.
Are
And
you
so
at
that way
all
I'm
concerned that
Yeah.
there's going to be some sort of Twilight Zone-y monkey's paw situation where you put it on and either it is so formulated for people who are older than you that it makes you younger, or that it magically snaps you to age 50 when you use it?
Right, exactly. I developed Crohn's hands
Right.
or liver spots.
Right.
That is where you come in. I need you to be my eyes because
so-
it would be happening so gradually to me that I wouldn't even notice.
Right. Like a fish, frogs, I guess, in a pot, boiling water.
Fish maybe as well.
I mean, that's not the saying, though, right? The saying is about frogs in a pot.
Look, so we're all sugar no talk.
I will keep an eye on your hands. That's what you want me to do?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, perfect. And Mark, you can keep an eye on my copy of Sonic Forces. And when I say Mark, I mean anyone, because anyone can borrow my copy of Sonic Forces on the Nintendo Switch. All you gotta do is send us an email with a mailing address. Send that to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And I send you my copy of this game, and you play it for as long as you want.
Or you can just babysit it.
Yeah, you can put it to bed early, and then you can stay up late, eat whatever you want in the fridge. It's all fair game. $6 an hour.
It's super easy to do.
Yep.
Get your name on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick pays for return postage.
Yeah.
There's
and postage there.
Yeah,
but you don't really
right.
see that.
That's right. You have nothing to lose.
That's right. Also, we have now reached 80 reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, thank you to whoever reviewed us. Because here's a fun thing you may not know. If you're like, I would love to review these guys, but I don't want to write a review, you don't have to write a review if you don't want to. You can just give us 5 stars.
And that counts as a review?
As far as I can tell, because we went to 80 reviews,
but
without
getting another.
There doesn't seem to be a written review that went with it.
Here's the thing. I feel like the written reviews do help. And even if you're just like, I gave this 5 stars, or I gave this 4 stars, or whatever you want to, whatever, it can be nothing. It can be no words in there.
Right. I mean, our preference
Yes.
is 5-star reviews with written reviews.
Yes.
But if you're in a real hurry, you have to pick up your kids
And look,
from
who
soccer
isn't?
practice.
Who isn't in a big hurry?
It's a go world.
Mm-hmm.
You can just give us 5 stars, and that's great too. We love
Yes.
all types of 5 stars.
And frankly, if your review is just go world, we'll understand. We know what that means.
And that's who you're doing it for.
Right. It's for us.
Yep.
And then so we've reached 80. Let's get to 100.
Yeah, we're never satisfied.
No. Well, why should we be? Why should we be satisfied? Speaking of why should we be satisfied, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Tetris Maximus.
I loved it.
I loved it too.
This weekend, if you participated, it had a Splatoon 2 theme
Yes.
that you could get for yourself if you earned 100 points over the weekend.
Yep.
I think I liked this one better than the Game Boy theme, although I thought both were great.
I mean, the Game Boy theme, when I first encountered it, brought tears to my eyes. I was so happy and so nostalgic for it. But the Splatoon 2 theme is way more dynamic and fun and it feels a little bit like you're playing Splatoon. It's got like that kind of like squishy, like popping in and out of the ink sound as you drop blocks. It's just super fun, and man, the game remains incredible.
Do you know, listening to the Splatoon music over and over
Yeah.
as I was playing rounds this weekend, it totally scratches that Tony Hawk Pro Skater itch.
Yes.
Because it's totally like shredding 90s rock
Yeah.
aesthetic.
No, it's super fun, and it has me excited for the final Splatfest, which is this weekend, right?
That's right.
I'm gonna have to come into it late because I'm at San Diego Comic-Con most of the weekend.
You should promote what you're doing at San Diego
okay.
Comic-Con.
So
it's cool.
At San Diego Comic-Con, if you're going to be in San Diego, if you're going to be at Comic-Con, I am moderating the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles panel, which features editor Bobby Curnow, the writer Tom Waltz, and co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman. The four of us are going to be on this panel talking about the road to issue 100 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is Friday at 2:00 somewhere. I, off the top of my head, don't remember where it is. But if you are there, check it out. It's going to be a fun panel.
And you'd be able to meet Patrick.
Yes. And maybe meet Kevin Eastman, who
Right.
is arguably a bigger celebrity.
But Patrick won't big time you.
Nope, that's right. I won't. I'll say hey and what's up.
I also played some Dr. Mario World.
Me too.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it's not as like hard disappointing. It's just I don't know. It's I don't think I'll play more of it.
I found it boring.
Yeah, I found it kind of boring too.
To be fair, I did not finish all like 10 tutorial levels.
Oh, okay.
I got
Didn't
to
get
like
that far.
6 or 7 and was like, I kind of feel like I've had enough of this.
I mean, I like some of the new ideas that the game introduces, like shells that kind of ricochet horizontally when you get like 3 in a row with them, and bombs that explode, and like all of like the little twists on what Dr. Mario was, I think are interesting.
Yeah, and the game plays, I feel like, totally differently.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're like choosing the orientation of the pills at the bottom,
right?
And
then as they're going, you can
then you like send them up, and they kind of like float up, and you can like force them to go faster.
Yeah,
it's just weird. I don't
up
really
is
understand.
the new down in this, which is strange. And yeah, it's not based on the sort of like twitchy mechanic of actually playing Dr. Mario or Tetris or anything, because you are like the limiting factor is the number of pills that you get to use. So like it's just like you have to think about it in a different way, which makes it more of like a puzzle game than like a Tetris-like game.
Which does make sense in like a mobile setting. I feel like to have it be a little bit more methodical instead of like frantic and fast-paced. Because presumably if you're like on your phone, you're potentially doing other stuff like driving.
Well, okay, so we do not encourage that.
No, we don't. But like facts are facts,
right? But also, don't drive and play Dr. Mario. You
No.
need a continuous internet connection for this thing to work.
Well, okay, that's the other reason that I stopped playing so quickly was at least on my phone. I have an iPhone 10. My performance was terrible.
Oh yeah,
like absolutely horrible. My phone got so hot that I couldn't like really hold it comfortably, so I had to like set it down, and then just like constant like having to reconnect, or like the loading screens are endless on this game. I feel like not like endlessly long, endless as in like every time you do something, you get that full page like loading screen with the little pills being like shot out or like kicked or something. I don't know. The whole thing, I found it just like not very much fun.
Yeah, it's also strange to me, like the game isn't very streamlined, so like it keeps kicking you out to this like world map, and every time I go to that screen, I see something that I want to interact with, sometimes just to bring up like an options menu, but the second you touch it, it like goes into the level, and it's just like, well then why did you even show me the map? Like why didn't you just bring me to the next level? It's all, I don't know. It's not the way I want to engage with Dr. Mario.
Okay, two more things.
Yes.
Before we move off from Dr. Mario, the voice of, I don't know if you were playing with sound on, the voice of like the toad or whatever it is.
Letty?
It's so bad.
I don't like.
So bad.
I don't like that it says Letty. It is very clearly Leady. Letty go.
It's awful.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
So that's a negative. One thing I do like that I thought was kind of fun, like, is when you're on that world map, you see like little coins
Mm-hmm.
appearing occasionally, and I like that if you are auto put into a level but you back out, you can like click on the coins.
Oh, to collect
And,
them?
Yeah, I thought it was
Which
like
makes it just like Mario Run, right?
right.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a cute little like additional thing
Yeah.
that they added to the game.
Who's your doctor?
I chose Bowser.
I chose Peach, which is fun to just have a doctor that's not Mario. And I mean, there's so much to this game that I feel a little bit bad that I'm not going to experience just because I'm probably not going to play much more of it. But like, you get all of these like assistant characters that will like help you. And presumably there are other doctors that you unlock like throughout the course of this game.
Right,
It
and
just
that
seems
I'm
like there's
sure
a
will
lot
be
there.
added later. And like each doctor has their own like special move.
Yeah. But, you know, there are a lot of games to play, and I just don't think Dr. Mario's going to be one of them. I have been playing the Messenger DLC Picnic Panic.
Tell me about it, because I was not able to experience it because I never completed the messenger.
Right.
So I haven't been able to get into it.
Well, and even if you magically had the ability to play it without having beaten it, it is so difficult
Oh, really?
that I would counter recommend that if you found like the end of the messenger like too difficult and you just barely scrape by, like maybe don't bother
Well-
playing Picnic Panic.
So I downloaded the update that included
Yeah.
Picnic Panic, and I opened up my save file because I was like, I think I'm like relatively close to finishing this game. And when I opened my save, I was just like in an area. You know, like I had totally forgotten like
Good luck.
what I was
Yeah.
supposed to be doing, the controls. And I remember like some of the bosses towards the end of the part that I was in before. So I made it a little bit past where it like opens up into like the Metroidvania type thing.
Which some people will say is halfway, but I'm here to tell you it is not quite that far.
Oh, okay. So I did not make it.
There's so much more game.
Okay, then
when
I
it
did not
goes-
make it
when opens
that
up.
far into
Yeah.
this game. And yeah, I remember in that first half or whatever of the game that I did complete, that some of the bosses towards the end were like little tricky and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I didn't remember any of the controls this time, didn't remember where I was, basically I was like, I would have to start over in order to like reacquaint myself with this game. I think I've just decided that Picnic Panic is
not
something
for
I'm
you.
going to experience.
I mean, I maintain that the Messenger itself is such a good game that it would be if you ever had like a hole in your heart and you thought I can only fill this with a ninja game and you don't want to replay Katana Zero, then go ahead and play this one.
I really liked what I played of it.
Yeah. So the Picnic Panic starts with a very Battletoads-esque surfing sequence where you are like just dodging between stuff. Like it feels very much like the speeder bike level 3 in the original Battletoads. But there is a boss at the end of it that is an octopus, and I fought this thing for like an hour, just dying over and over again because it was so difficult. Like there are 3 phases of it, and the first 2 phases, like I think I got through on my first try, and then the third phase just goes on forever, and I eventually beat it, but I can't really say that I figured out like the trick to it so much as I just like, you know, rammed my head against the wall until it died. But it was great. It spits out like bombs and little like ink blobs, and it makes the sound of like an Octorok spitting things out in Zelda, which is cool. But then actually getting into like that's how you get to this new island, which also takes place in a different reality, like a parallel reality that you're going to it to prevent, which doesn't really make sense because it's a parallel reality. Who cares whether it happens or not? But yeah, the platforming in there is super hard. The bosses are super hard, and I'm stuck right now on a boss fight that you're playing against a dark messenger, and so it's all like scenes that you're running through and he's running through, and it's just a race to like get to like a thing at the end and hit it, and you have to get 4 and he has to get 4 like against you, and like you see your little demon guy like move back 1 on the counter every time he beats you, and you move his demon back 1 every time you beat him. And I can get him down to 1, and then every time that those those are like the hardest versions of these like obstacle course rooms, and he's so fast and I'm so slow. It's just like painstakingly difficult. And I've had a couple different play sessions where I've been working at it and really trying, and then like just get to a point where I'm like, I'm just frustrated. Like I'm just mad that I'm not able to do this. So I'll put it down and I'll come back later. And that's happened like 3 times.
The concept of that level sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a great concept, and like no matter what, the game is fun and feels good. It's just I'm running up against a little bit of a wall here.
Does this expansion have like a different aesthetic vibe to it? I don't know. From like the promo art, you kind of got like maybe like a Miami Vice type thing.
Yeah, it's less that and more just like a general beachiness, but not even really all the time. Like the surfing part is obviously nice and on theme. And then the first kind of area, so all of this plays a little bit more like the first half of the Messenger, or at least all that I've played so far. I have no concept of how far into it I am. But the first like level of it is on the beach shore. And a storm comes in, so like the palm trees are waving around and like there's rain, and now I'm underground, so like most of that theming has kind of gone away.
Does it keep up? One of the things I really liked about the time I spent with the Messenger was the writing. I thought it was like really funny and clever.
Yep, writing remains super funny and good. There are times as I'm playing it where I'm like, oh yeah, I understand. I get the voice of the Messenger. I just want to play it. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta like sit through some jokes, and they're jokes that I like, so like I'm not complaining about it, but I am also like, oh, come on, I just want to play the game. But it's good, and I'll keep coming back to it.
Our friend June got us into the Messenger. He
That's
bought
right.
us copies of it so we could play it, and he also let me borrow his copy of Dragon Quest Builders, the first
great.
one. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I'm basically just a tiny bit further than where I got in the demo.
And this is, you said this, right? Dragon Quest Builders 1?
Yeah, sorry, This is the original game that came out last year, maybe. I'm really liking it. It's cute. It's really fun.
Yeah.
His experience with it was that like it got a little like repetitive and samey.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not far enough for that to happen. But I could totally see how that's the case.
Yeah. Speaking of repetitive and samey, but still sort of fun, we put together a Labo this weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
We built the house in the original Labo
variety kit.
Yeah, variety kit.
Yeah.
And this is the Labo experience is fun to put together. But the actual software experience confusing. And
this one is so weird.
This one is so weird. When you build the house and then you put the Switch inside it, there's like a little animal inside.
Yeah, it's kind of maybe like a mouse type thing, but it has really long legs.
Yeah, and instead of like a head, it just has like a hole with eyes in it. So they're like the eyes live inside this hole, and when it eats, it just puts something in the hole in the front of its body. It's very strange.
But it is kind of like interesting to see what the different combinations are, because you make 3 different little like key sort of things.
Yes.
And depending on the configuration that you put them into the house, a different like room appears, and there's little mini games within the room, and your reward for completing the mini games is like food that you can put into a microwave sometimes. And then the rat mouse type looking thing eats it.
Yep.
And it changes color. It's so confounding, but like interesting if nothing else.
And that's, I don't know what more we can really say about Labo at this point. I sort of can't believe we've talked over the course of this show as much about Labo as we have. It's been a lot. And then I continue to play Super Mario Maker 2, which brings me to some emails that we've gotten from our listeners. So first, we've got an email from Andrew here that says, "Hey guys, I wanted to say thank you for all the effort you put into this lovely little podcast of yours. But if I had to change one thing, I'd change the fact that there isn't enough Mario Maker 2 discussion. What can be done about this? Well, some ideas. Idea number 1, community level sharing. Get fans to share their levels with you on Twitter. Play them, then shout out your favorite levels in a short segment on the pod." Mark?
Super into this.
Super into this. We are way into this idea. Idea number 2, level design and philosophy discussion. What makes a good Mario level? I don't know. You tell me. This could be integrated into the aforementioned short segment. Talk about what you've made, played, what's working really well. Also talk about what doesn't. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be great to have a guest on
Yes.
who likes making Mario levels and has a feel for it because it's a part of the game that I have not explored at all.
And it is a part that I do participate in. I like making levels. But yeah, we will work out a way to kind of incorporate more level building philosophy. There's another point here that Andrew has. Contests. You guys are making courses too, I presume. Well, upload one every so often for us to play. Give it some time, a week maybe, and see who can obtain the world record. Winners receive kudos and recognition and warm, fuzzy feelings. Thanks for doing what you do, Andrew. I think this is good too.
Yeah, I think these are great ideas.
I currently have a level that is I remade World 1-1 from Super Mario Brothers 2, Doki Doki Panic, and you can go and play it if you just find my profile. I tweeted out the level code, and I believe the Nintendo Cartridge Society account retweeted it, so you can find it there. We'll put the code in the description of this episode too. The world record is currently being held by Matt Acevedo, so you are all being shown up by Matt. He's got the world record on it.
Where should somebody send level codes to us to play so we can talk about them on the show?
So you can either email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com,
or you can tweet at us at NinCart Society, which is maybe easier because then we can retweet those. But yeah, I would like to make an effort to play more like listener fan
for sure.
levels, and then I'll share them on my personal Twitter, and then we'll retweet it on NinCart Society as well. One more email from, actually it's 2 more emails from Casey. He says, hey, Patrick and Mark, I've made a few courses and I'd love for you to try them both. If you guys would want to share them on a future podcast. Not telling you how to run your show, he says. And then he gives some episode or some level codes. And I'm gonna speak out the first one here. But we'll also put it in the description.
Okay,
it's
good call.
W2H MMV NHF. I'll also tweet this out.
Yeah,
too.
So while you're driving, put down your phone, pick up your Switch.
Stop playing Dr. Mario World while driving. But this was a cool level that it was kind of built around guiding a large Goomba to a P block switch, so that then you could run across blocks or coins that turned into blocks. And then that was only the beginning half of the level. And the latter half of the level, you had to use the Super Ball flower to like ricochet off things and like bust a key out of a Koopa. So it was fun. And then there were 2 others. We'll shout them out later. And then here's another thing that Casey says. Is it just me, or have Nintendo completely missed the fact that the online app that no one wants could actually work really well at browsing created levels and queuing them up to be ready to play on the Switch? Just like the original Mario Maker had a bookmark website? Seems like a missed opportunity to me.
Totally. I was just talking about this today. It's insane to me that there is no Splatnet or Smash World equivalent for Mario Maker 2.
Yeah.
In the Nintendo Switch Online phone app.
Because it seems like it would be perfect. Like I feel like most people are just using Twitter this way, partially because the Switch can just post directly to Twitter. But man, it would be nice to be able to pull those also off of there too, without having to enter in codes.
Well, yeah, and also just like to be able to, like Casey was saying, just browse levels, click ones that you think are interesting, and just add them directly to a download queue.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's what we've been playing this week, and a shout out for levels, so you can give us more to play next week. But let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, July 16th, Forklift, the simulation, is released on the Nintendo eShop.
Is that like Forklift in the Matrix?
It's not.
Oh, it's just Forklift.
It is like a true to life forklift simulation. I feel like it's something that is it's so specific
Yeah.
that I love it because the people who will love Forklift the Simulation are so earnest about loving Forklift the Simulation.
So it's like a tractor simulator.
Right, or like a flight simulator, or farm simulator, or any of those types of things.
All of that sounds more interesting to me than maybe not tractor simulator, but than forklift simulator.
To you, but it's not for you.
I've driven a forklift.
So you don't need the simulation.
That's right.
This is for DJs. This is for, skydivers.
I like that your first crack at a job where you probably don't have to drive a forklift is a DJ.
Yeah, unless you're like a do-it-yourself DJ who has a lot of turntables.
Right,
and
just
you need
so many turntables.
Some way.
You insist on bringing your entire vinyl collection to every gig.
Also, Let's Sing 2019 is out today.
What's Let's Sing?
It's like Let's Dance, but for singing.
Got it.
July 17th, we get Donkey Kong 3 and Wrecking Crew for the NES, Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay, great. So Wrecking Crew and Donkey Kong 3, neither of these are like bangers.
No, but
Yes.
I think you and I and all the rest of our listeners are going to be putting some time into Donkey Kong 3.
Okay, so it was suggested on Twitter by a listener, Super Game Joy, thank you, at Super Game Joy, that we should have some sort of tournament.
High score
contest. Now here is let's read the next part of the new releases because this is going to come into play.
Oh yes, of course.
So,
because there's also a new rewind feature for the Nintendo Switch Online, where if you press and hold ZL and ZR at the same time, you'll be able to like scrub back in time.
Yeah. So
great
finally. Feature. Thank you. Oh my God, where has this been? Most of these NES games are borderline unplayable in 2019, and they being able to rewind it very much fixes that. However, does it screw up our plan to have a high score tournament?
No, because Billy Mitchell doesn't listen to this podcast.
Oh,
bazinga!
Man! First of all, I cannot believe that you are throwing fire at Billy Mitchell, and B, I can't believe that you're using bazinga.
It's a whole new mark, baby.
That's right. So we'll work out some sort of challenge between Mark and myself to see who can get the highest score in Donkey Kong 3, and we will of course invite everyone to participate. Got to be on the honor system here,
right?
No rewinding. We can just make that. We can just declare that, right?
Yeah,
honor system?
absolutely.
Okay,
great.
Great.
It's our contest.
I just wanted to clear it with you.
And then on July 19th, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order is released for Switch.
I almost find it hard to believe that we are to that point in the summer already.
No, it's crazy. Starting like a week. I was trying to think of the way to express this.
Yep.
A week from Friday.
Yes.
Is Fire Emblem Three Houses.
I know.
And then we're just really in it.
Yeah, we're just there, and then we've got a million games from now until the end of the year.
I'm super curious to know how Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 ultimately does and how it's ultimately received. Because, I know, I said ultimate a bunch.
3 times.
Fitting. This is the third game.
Yes, it's very good. It was on purpose.
Because if you look on the eShop right now, there's so much hype around Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's already like the 7th best-selling game in the eShop right now.
It's the #1 best-selling game on Amazon right now.
And then Marvel
Which
Ultimate
is
Alliance
weird.
3, which comes out much sooner, is like, last time I looked, it was like 25th on the eShop bestsellers. I do feel like this is a minor release compared to Fire Emblem Three Houses, weirdly. Because Fire Emblem feels like it's about to blow up in a really big way. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's weird because I do think that this Fire Emblem game is going to sell less than the last couple.
Oh, I disagree.
Because there were so many more 3DSs in the wild than there are Switches currently. So like, I mean, we'll see, and when the Switch Lite comes out, I think that's part of the conversation about that thing's success is also going to be tied to Fire Emblem Three Houses.
But the other reason I'm interested to watch Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which I've already bought it, like it's downloaded on my Switch, is that even from like the demo we played, it feels such a throwback to the first two titles.
Yeah, totally.
It feels very much like a last generation title. So I'll be very curious to see how it's received now.
Yeah. Our friends on the Unranked podcast, Christian is the like host of that podcast, and he was on last week. But they were pointing out in a recent episode that so much has changed for Marvel in the decade since Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 came out, that like what this game actually ends up being, like from soup to nuts, like it's so the possibilities of what this game is and the characters that can be in it and just the scope of it has just exploded. And so it's an exciting thing, and I'm really interested to see what it all is.
And also, like Patrick mentioned earlier, this weekend is also the Splatoon 2 Final Splatfest, which is Chaos, represented by Pearl, versus Order, represented by Marina. It happens 7/18, starting at 5 a.m. Pacific time, and runs for 72 hours.
So that's all weekend, which is awesome. And I'm definitely going to hop on Saturday Sunday rather, when I'm back from Comic-Con, and everyone should take a break from 2 until 3 to watch my Ninja Turtles panel.
And also on Thursday, come back because we are going to be definitively determining the correct answers for every Splatfest in Splatoon 2.
Whew. Okay, Mark, that's a lot of new releases. Let's get out of this. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today, perhaps inspired by last week, we are going to be ranking all of the Tim Burton movies.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be known that we are able to look at all the Tim Burton movies because I'm going to Wikipedia and not to IMDb because we're standing with Amazon workers in boycotting Amazon for 2 days. All right, where do you even start here? What is your favorite Tim Burton movie?
Last week, I said that it was Batman Returns,
but
I also really like Edward Scissorhands and Ed Wood. I think those are probably my top 3.
So I have never actually seen Ed Wood, which I know makes me a bad cinephile.
It's fine. There's
a lot. It makes me bad.
There's a lot of movies in the world.
I would say that Big Fish also belongs in that like upper echelon. I watched it again recently, and it was one of those where I was like, "Am I gonna think this is stupid now?" Like when I watch it again, but no, I cried a bunch. It's still really good. So those are we can put those in the like top 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Batman Returns,
Edward Scissorhands,
Ed Wood, and
Big Fish. I also think the first Batman is probably up there somewhere.
Okay,
probably
sure.
like 5th, like the lower end of that.
So Pee-wee's Big Adventure is also in his filmography,
mm-hmm.
and is another great movie.
So Beetlejuice, pretty good.
Also Beetlejuice. Okay. We're doing a bad job here. Do you want to count The Nightmare Before Christmas? He did not direct it.
No, doesn't count.
Okay, do you want to count Corpse Bride? He co-directed it.
Oh, I mean, sure. It's going to be low for me.
Okay. So, in the upper echelon of like best Tim Burton movies, we've got Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, and Big Fish.
Now, those are interestingly like
his first 5 movies?
Yeah, basically his first 5 movies, and then skip a couple of years and go to Big Fish in 2003.
Right.
So should we stop there? Like, is that enough for us to bite off? And
just ranking those.
Yeah, try to like determine.
Well, let's do that. But first, let's just go through the rest of the filmography, make sure there isn't anything else that we want to like, honorable mention or whatever. So Nightmare Before Christmas, we are saying is not eligible. Mars Attacks
has some great moments.
Yeah,
is a funny premise for a movie. I don't think really like holds together very well.
No, and by the end of it, like totally falls apart. Sleepy Hollow, boring. I don't care. Planet of the Apes, actively bad.
Amazing. The last of the big makeup movies, right? I don't know that we'll ever see a production like that big with, where like makeup, not digital makeup, is like the focus. Because now I think they would do so much of it digitally.
Yeah. How much of the, it's got to be a ton, but the Shape of Water creature is achieved with
I think
makeup.
that's mostly. I think mostly all of it.
Well, mostly makeup.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a really good one.
But like
Oscar winning.
No, it's a great movie. But I just mean like the amount of people
that's
that you
true,
had to
yeah.
like put into makeup. Like all that kind of stuff.
Right. He's just one fishy boy.
Right.
Okay. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Mark is
I
shaking
think
his
bad.
head. Right. Bad. Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
I'm kind of indifferent to it.
Yeah. I mean, Sondheim's tough anyway. I don't need a Johnny Depp interpreting it for me. Right.
I actually think that they made like fine and smart like adaptation choices.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's just not very much fun to watch.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. Alice in Wonderland.
Not very good.
Another actively bad one. Okay. Then Dark Shadows.
I have not seen any of these last ones. Dark Shadows, Frankenweenie, Big Eyes, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and Dumbo.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
I am in the same boat.
So we started with the top 5 loving, bottom 5 we just have not
seen. Okay, so now we are left with the task of ranking Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, and Big Fish.
Okay,
Where do we start? Oh, was that it?
Is that the end? Will we never know?
We will, in fact, never know. We just know what our top 7 Tim Burton movies are. We were accompanied today by Orchestra Electra Nova at the Academy of Music in Krakow. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Finally happened. After months of speculation, Nintendo revealed a new member of the Nintendo Switch family, the Nintendo Switch Lite. It arrives September 20th for $199.
So, a couple things right off the bat. That is $100 cheaper than Nintendo Switch currently is. That's also the price that the Switch was when it launched. We have not seen any price cut there. So $100 would maybe be a price, like that's something that we may have expected to see happen just sort of naturally. Nope. It's going to the Lite. And second, that 9/20, September 20th, is the day that Link's Awakening comes out.
And just a few months before Pokemon, which to me, this feels very much like a Pokemon move.
Yes,
100%.
Maybe we should talk about the features of it, and then,
Great plan. So in the reveal video, they make it clear this is all about handheld play.
Mm-hmm.
There's no docking it to the TV, and no removable Joy-Cons.
And no kickstand.
That's right. So there are some changes to the button configurations. The left controls, instead of like the 4 face buttons that the Joy-Con has,
Mm-hmm.
it has a proper D-pad. Something that people have been asking for a long time. There's no IR camera or HD rumble at all, but it does contain gyroscope controls.
Which we had discovered recently. The actual Switch itself does have a gyroscope inside it. It's not all from the Joy-Cons.
It's compatible with any game that has the handheld designation on like the box or in the eShop.
Mm-hmm.
So that includes most games.
Yes.
Like Pokemon Let's Go, you can play even though that requires motion controls. I'm doing air quotes. Like
Mhm.
you can use the gyroscope for that kind of stuff. Comes in 3 colors at launch: yellow, gray, and turquoise. And it's also getting a Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield Special Edition console, which comes out a week before the game. The game comes out on the 12th. This is launching on the 8th. The left buttons are neon blue. The right buttons are neon pink. The rest of it's gray, and on the back there's an illustration of the 2 legendary Pokemon from the games, Zacian, and I will never.
Zamazenta.
Yeah, I will never know how to pronounce that. Zamazenta.
Zamazenta. It's a spicy Pokemon.
The screen is a little bit smaller, 5.5 inches compared to 6.2 inches on Switch.
Mm-hmm. On the original Switch, on the Switch Heavy. So this is all like the contracting in size. I would guess is part of the that they don't have the Joy-Cons there anymore, so they can actually like change the form factor of this thing.
I think also because it doesn't have a TV mode,
Yes.
so it doesn't like kick into that more high-powered mode. It probably can have, it definitely has different like thermal dynamics. Where,
Totally, yeah.
It doesn't have to have maybe as big of a vent or more space between components or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if it's
Or
still
a bigger battery life.
I wonder if it's still going to have a fan in it. I
It
guess I would
seems like it
assume
is going to
would.
because I think the vents have been redesigned, but I think it does still include vents. We also know that it has better battery life marginally. It gets 3 to 7 hours versus the 2.5 to 6.5 that Nintendo calls out on their official homepage.
Which is interesting to me because I guess I would have thought that getting rid of HD Rumble would have really improved battery life, but I guess that's not taking into consideration the fact that the Joy-Cons themselves have battery, so they're probably running a lot of that in from the Joy-Con power source and not from the Switch itself.
And like any Switch game, the amount of battery you'll get will depend on the game itself. So Nintendo has always kind of used Breath of the Wild as a barometer. And on the original Switch, you get 3 hours of playtime, is what they say. That you average about 3 hours. But they're saying on the Nintendo Switch Lite, you'd get a full hour more of play. You'd get 4 hours. In an interview with Time, Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser indicated that Nintendo's developers, quote, will be very focused on the Nintendo Switch flagship device and building games that utilize the capability of that machine, seemingly to say that HD Rumble will continue to be supported, that kind of stuff.
Right, and that games will still be designed with you playing on your TV also in mind.
And then Bowser has also commented that Nintendo plans to continue to support the Nintendo 3DS as long as there is demand.
And who even knows what that means at this point? Continue support. They don't have a game announced for it.
Right. I wonder if support in the sense that we will continue to stock it and service the machines or whatever.
Right. But like at present, they didn't talk about it at all during E3. There wasn't a DS on the show floor, so like, whatever. Okay, so now that we know what this thing is, we know that it will not dock to the TV. It is not compatible with your current dock. It lasts a little bit longer. It's a little bit smaller. What is this thing for? Who is this thing for?
So I think even with us, the Switch is a portable device or can be used as a portable device, but I've never felt that it's really like best suited for true portability.
Yes.
Like leaving my home, throwing it into my bag, like going somewhere. I like being able to undock it and sit on the couch with it, sit in bed with it, but I've never loved taking it outside the house.
Yeah, especially on like kind of shorter trip stuff. Like if I'm going like somewhere for Christmas or like I'm gone for a week or something, then like I'll make room in my bag. I'll take it with me. Especially for like a long plane ride or something, but just throwing it in my bag for like a day or something never really feels right to me.
I also think the Switch as is just a little too big and a little too, at the same time, both premium and feeling a little like flimsy with the Joy-Cons being attached to just hand to a child and be like, this is your primary gaming device.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just like the 2DS was kind of like the, here's one that doesn't have 3D, so you don't have to worry about your kid's eyes. Like, this is for anybody and everybody type of 3DS device. I think the Nintendo Switch Lite checks all of those boxes. It's like, it's cheaper, it's more compact, it's smaller, so it's easier for kids to hold. It doesn't have detachable Joy-Con. You can just throw it into a bag.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and so I think the other component here is that, and we've talked about this before, that like this is sort of the year that the Switch software lineup is like more reflective of the portable line than it is the home console line. We have a new Fire Emblem game this year. We have a new mainline Pokemon game this year. We have a remake of Link's Awakening, right? And even the last two Luigi's Mansion releases were on handheld systems. We're getting a new Luigi's Mansion this year as well. So like,
and Pokemon, did you mention Pokemon?
Yeah, I mentioned Pokemon too.
I promise I listened when you talked.
I understand. Also, there was a Box Boy game that just came out too. Like, there's a lot. We are seeing the DS and Game Boy games arriving on the platform, which we were always promised that the Switch was going to sort of meld the handheld and console like gaming division, so that we were going to see games from both sets of teams. And I think the thing that they were missing out on is having the like lower price point, kid friendly, semi disposable piece of hardware that the Switch Lite can fill that role. I worry still that $200 is still maybe a little bit too expensive, but I don't really know like what a realistic price would
Yeah,
be.
like I agree that it is expensive compared to Nintendo's other handhelds, but only marginally so.
Yeah,
Like
and
I
only
think that's about
now.
the
Yeah.
price of like a Nintendo 3DS XL.
Sure. I mean, I think the new 3DS XL launched at 180, I want to say, which is pretty close to 200.
Especially when you compare the capabilities of the two systems.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't know that we've ever seen a handheld, even from the Vita, that was like as robust and powerful and could play such a vast like array of games.
Yeah. I mean, especially when, for all intents and purposes, every new Nintendo Switch game is going to be playable on the Switch Lite. Like, that you have got not just like some of Nintendo's software support, but like all of it. You are going to be able to play all Nintendo games on this thing.
Except 1-2 Switch.
You can play 1-2 Switch. You just need a separate set of Joy-Cons.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a great point.
Yeah. And also you'll need to like prop it up somehow. It doesn't have its own kickstand. But I guess the same is true of Mario Party as well, which is only Joy-Con compatible. But also neither of those games are that good. And really, I don't know why you would play Mario Party without putting it up on a TV. So, I mean, it's obviously not going to have every function of the Switch Heavy, but I think will be a totally valid for what it's trying to be. I think it's going to achieve.
Yeah,
it
doesn't feel compromised.
yes,
Really.
yes,
And I agree with you. I do think $200 is pretty expensive for the sort of like portable system for your kid type thing, but I think it'll be incredibly successful at that price. I'm pretty tempted to pick one up.
yeah,
Probably not until I am like planning to go on a trip that I would have like utility for it.
yeah.
But yeah, for me it really is kind of perfect for that. I need it for my go bag type thing.
Yeah, totally. So something to consider if you currently have a Switch and you are interested in getting the Switch Lite as like a second Switch for the sort of like more portable version of it. You can share like a Nintendo account between multiple Switches, but whichever one isn't your primary Switch will need to connect to the internet to play any of those games. You can change which one is your primary. So like maybe the play there is to make the Switch Lite your primary Switch, because you'll be on the road with it, and you'll want to be able to play whatever games you want to on the plane, or wherever you don't have internet connection. And your like home Switch can be the secondary one because you keep it at home.
Yeah, especially because the Nintendo Switch can't really connect to public Wi-Fi.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. We were talking about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I'm. It's interesting to see the rumors come true.
Yes.
A little bit, and to see the Nintendo Switch Lite in the flesh. But I'm excited for it. I think that it makes a lot of sense for a lot of use cases that even the Switch, being a hybrid system, didn't really fit entirely.
Yeah, still felt a little bit too like premium or fragile or something that like traveling with it was possible, but always felt a little bit like I've got to keep an eye on my Switch and make sure it's okay.
Nintendo has also submitted a filing with the FCC that involves a new processor and new flash storage chips for the existing Switch form factor.
Right. So what does that mean?
So it could be they're just like switching out components for security reasons. The original Switch chipset had been like hacked in various ways, had exploits that like maybe this newer chipset doesn't have. It could be like marginally improving performance, or improve something to like improve the dev kits. We don't really know. All we know is that it's not a redesign of the Switch, because the form that they filed with the FCC is to change like an existing already approved form factor.
Right. So just to get out in front of it, this is not an announcement of a Switch Pro, which they're never going to call it that. But that's not what this is. This is just the Switch version 1.002 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. Time for our Eyes on Guiji segment.
Eyes on Guiji.
We previously discussed that Guiji was edible and was described as having like the texture of a gummy bear. As a follow-up to this, in an interview with The Verge, Luigi's Mansion 3 producer Kensuke Tanabe said that Guiji, quote, might taste like coffee.
Okay, hold on. He might taste like coffee?
Well, this makes sense since Guiji was created when Professor Egad spilled coffee on ghost energy.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so, I mean, but you could also reasonably say that it tastes like ghost energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think he says might taste like coffee.
Right.
Because how would he know?
Yeah. Also, like, how does Professor Egad take his coffee? Does he take it black, or is there some
Maybe it has a lot of
dairy in
cream
there?
and sugar.
Yeah, which means it has gone bad.
Or
Maybe there's,
Luigi
like,
probably does smell like rotted
rotten milk. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, not like overwhelmingly, but like something's wrong.
Tanabe also told The Verge, quote, there might be a Guiji-only spin-off, perhaps, with all different colors, a Guiji Power Rangers.
Okay, he didn't say this.
He did.
What?
But, well, I mean, listen, he's in an interview. He's talking about Guiji. What does Guiji taste like?
Sure.
And they're like, is this the last we see of Guiji? Clearly.
Sure. The Verge is already attempting to redefine what an interview is.
Right. And so I think he's just having a little bit of fun.
Sure.
That being said, Guiji Power Rangers, I would 100% buy.
Did you see that Boom Comics today announced a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover series?
That's
it.
Great.
Maybe there'll also be Guiji Rangers
Let's just
in there.
get the Battletoads in there as well.
Battletoads.
There also has been some question about what happens to Luigi when Guiji is brought out. Because in the game, when Guiji appears, Luigi just kind of slumps over a little bit.
Yeah, that when you cede control of Luigi to Guiji, poor Luigi just his shoulders they kind of list down a little bit, and he just kind of stares off into space.
Tanabe thinks that Luigi passes out.
Okay.
But the game's producer Yoshihito Ikebata said, quote, the essence of Luigi is sending Guiji directions. That's his conjecture as to what he thinks is happening. That's not a definitive statement.
Sure. So Luigi is entering the astral plane and communing with Guiji and sending him off
with coffee ghost energy. Maybe.
Coffee spilt on ghost energy, and perhaps it tastes of coffee.
This does nothing for my excitement for Luigi's Mansion 3, which I was looking forward to. But I love all this talk of Guiji.
Oh,
and, the intricacies of Guiji's inner life.
Look, I don't think we should stop with Guiji. I want Goo versions of all the Mario characters.
Just let Luigi have this one.
No!
Okay, so whether it's responsible for its success or not, there's a little bit of debate between Patrick and I last week. Fire Emblem has exploded in popularity since it introduced a romance and relationship system to the series with Fire Emblem Awakening. That much cannot be disputed.
We argued about this?
Well, we didn't argue about it.
Okay, all right.
You were just you gave a really well thought out, well reasoned explanation for why the relationship system added a lot of richness to Fire Emblem, and that richness is what brought it to another plane of existence.
And I stand by it.
And my answer was just waifus.
Right, sure. Which is, you're saying the same thing. You're just being dismissive of it.
Exactly. Which one is true, we'll never know. But
they're both true.
One aspect that's been missing from the franchise has always been same-sex romance options. But Nintendo of America has confirmed that will change with Fire Emblem 3 Houses. There's no specifics, because obviously that'd be spoilers. But we know that same-sex romances will be available in the game, which is awesome.
I love that.
Ni no Kuni and Yokai Watch developer Level 5 announced via their fictional YouTuber Rito-chan. So what do we think I don't know what that means.
So I looked this up.
Okay, great.
So Level 5 has a character who is a pretend YouTuber. But one of the functions of being a pretend YouTuber in the real world is that she has a YouTube channel, but she's a cartoon character.
Oh,
she's
okay.
level 5.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a human or if it was some sort of other avatar. It sounds like it's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon character who has a TV for a head, and the TV that is her head displays the head of a teenage girl.
I love that.
She's awful. I watched one whole Rito-chan video today, and she sucks.
Is this in English or Japanese?
It is in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
It is so Japanese.
Well, Rito-chan announced that the original Yokai Watch would be playable on Switch Lite by the time the system was released. And that was it.
Yeah.
So there was no follow-up.
So she kind of rattles it off as both So she kind of rattles it off as both Yokai Watch and Ni no Kuni will be playable on Switch by September 20th, which is when the Switch Lite releases. But to date, there has been no official announcement from either Level 5 or Nintendo that we would be seeing Yokai Watch or any future games in the Yokai Watch series on Switch.
So I wonder if this is maybe just like Japan only.
Could be Japan
where
only,
Yokai
yeah.
Watch was really big for a while.
Yeah.
Yokai Watch 4 just came out there. It has done fine, but
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
like
yeah.
the phenomenon that it used to be.
And certainly was not catching fire over here on 3DS, which seems like a more like natural home for it anyway. So this very well could be a just Japan announcement that we weren't meant to really know about anyway. So you keep doing you, Rito-chan.
And then finally, Sensor Tower has some interesting info about the first 3 days after the launch of Dr. Mario World. Within that window, the game has been installed by 2 million users, and $100,000 has been spent in-game. Within that same time frame after launch, all the other Nintendo mobile games besides Dragalia Lost saw more downloads, and every single game saw more revenue within the first 3 days.
So something like Dragalia Lost, which only had 30,000 downloads within the first 3 days, made $250,000. So made more than twice as much money while being downloaded like a tenth as much. And then, Fire Emblem Heroes has almost 5 million downloads and like $11.5 million spent within the first 3 days. So like that puts Dr. Mario World on the less successful end of the spectrum here.
Yeah, I really still don't know what to make of Nintendo's mobile offerings.
Yeah, it's strange, right? Like, and I guess they don't all have to be hits, right? Like, Fire Emblem Heroes is a successful. It's successful.
Yeah, it seems like far and away
a lot of money.
By far, it's their most successful mobile game. I do think they're definitely. When you look at the lineup and you know that Super Mario Kart Tour or whatever is coming later this summer, you do see that they are kind of hitting all of the big genres. They have a platformer, which is kind of like an endless runner.
Yeah.
They have the Fire Emblem game, with
like a strategy.
Yeah, like a strategy RPG. They have Animal Crossing type, like building a world and character and customization, all that kind of stuff. You have Dragalia Lost, which is just a more traditional mobile RPG, and then a puzzle game in Dr. Mario. So seeing it all laid out, it's like and then Mario Kart Tour being like a racer. So it's all very like, feels very strategic.
Right. These are the kinds of mobile games there are. And they're just checking those boxes. I tell you what, though, Pocket Card Jockey, just bring it over to mobile. And bring it over to Switch. I will buy Pocket Card Jockey at least 2 more times.
I would buy it if it came to Switch, only because I'm so curious to know what this game is.
It's so good.
Or I'm
it's
so
just
curious to play
solitaire.
this game. Yeah.
You can play it on your 3DS.
But I'm not going to do that.
All right, that's a good point. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We're not going to get to 100 if you don't do it. That sounded like a threat, but I didn't mean it to. If you like this episode, you could share it on Facebook or Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society.
Don't forget to send us your Mario Maker 2 levels.
That's right. You can email them to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, or you can tweet at any of those Twitter accounts that I said before. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, waifu is... It's dismissive, Mark. And thanks for listening.
Hey, Hey, podcast fans, great news. You got a new podcast to listen to every Tuesday. This is Fantasy Flicks League. I'm Ryan Meharry.
I'm Mike McClendon.
I'm Amy Ruffle.
And we're the commissioners and hosts of the Fantasy Flicks League podcast, a podcast all about the box office. We got flops, we got bombs, we give unsolicited updates on the hosts' love lives, a reoccurring character who loves Deadpool no matter what his parents say.
I'm gonna see it, Mom. Screw you.
With an A-list guest lineup and the movie news you need to decide what to see and what to skip, the Fantasy Flicks League podcast drops every Tuesday morning. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.